Continuing to take a look at the Xbox 360 launch titles, this is Need for Speed Most Wanted, the original Need for Speed Most Wanted from 2005. And man, I remember playing this game back when it was new and relevant. Believe it or not, I got this game originally for the PC. It was actually gifted to me, I believe, by my aunt or someone in my family. And at the time, I just got my first desktop computer. My parents got me an HP desktop computer, which, if memory serves me right, it was an AMD 64X processor. It was a dual core processor. I think it had 3 gigabytes of RAM, and it was an onboard graphics card, but it was running Windows Vista 32-bit. And so what I did is I found myself going over to Best Buy and I bought myself an NVIDIA 9500 GT. And I put that into that HP computer, and that allowed me to basically play games like Need for Speed Most Wanted that was gifted to me. And I think I even tried the original Crysis on that computer, but, to no avail. The bottom line is I played this game back when it was sort of new and relevant, but I never really invested myself in it. So a lot of the memories that people have of this being one of the more revered Need for Speed titles, I think a lot of people, when we talk about the great Need for Speeds in the franchise, this game in particular is usually in the top 3, if not number 1 on most people's list. It is an incredibly popular entry in the series, and a lot of people remember it very fondly. But I myself didn't really have those memories because I never really got to invest myself fully in it. And that being said, Need for Speeds back then came out every single year, so if you missed one, especially if you're a kid, it's like, okay, I'll play the one next year. There was always a new Need for Speed game coming out and something to look forward to, and these games kind of came and went in a flash. That being said, this is one of those interesting games where the Xbox 360 version actually is graphically superior to the PC version. In fact, if you put these versions side by side, and there's many videos on YouTube that show this, I think it's because the PC version came out alongside the rest of the 6th generations versions, because remember, this game was also available on the original Xbox and PlayStation 2, and I guess it must have been developed by a core team who did those original versions, while you had a separate team, and again, I don't know this for sure, I'm just kind of speculating, that handled the next generation port at the time, which was the Xbox 360. And so we saw things like lighting effects, level of detail, shadows being pushed further than what at the time they delivered with the PC optimized version. And this is one of those games where, it was never really updated on the PC to support these next gen features, so all we simply got was a graphically superior Xbox 360 version, although the trade-off was the frame rate. And this to me is probably my number one criticism of not really the game at this point, but I have to say of Microsoft, is that this is one of those games that should be included in backwards compatibility on the Xbox Series X and the One Series. The reason why is because this game runs at an unlocked frame rate. And there are moments in the game where you actually get up to 50 plus frames per second and the game looks incredibly smooth, although this only lasts for a few seconds. Most of the game runs at this unlocked frame rate, and you'll get this very jittery motion because, to my knowledge, they V-sync this, right? There's no screen tearing, and so the game just has this inconsistent frame pacing to the image. And so the game looks a lot jerky than it typically is, even though the frame rate is usually well above 30 frames per second. It's just that you're playing it with this very jerky motion. And ultimately, for a driving game, it's really exacerbated by the high speed and the turns and all this stuff, the rapid movement of the vehicles. And so in motion, this game looks, very jerky and jittery and just it kind of stutters, right? But in reality, this is one of those games that, again, could have been running at 60 frames per second if we got this game updated to be on the Xbox Series X, absolutely, or I think even the Xbox One X could probably deliver a smooth frame rate in this game. So it's one that I do hope that Microsoft continues to add to the backwards compatibility list. And we haven't seen some games being added in quite some time. Microsoft said that they were done, but that was in regards to the Xbox One backwards compatibility list. I hope and expect that maybe sometime next year they're going to announce that they're going to continue their efforts in backwards compatibility for the Series X specifically, and we'll start seeing a lot of these games, and hopefully Need for Speed Most Wanted is one of them, get sort of that treatment, because again, unlocked frame rate, the perfect opportunity here to revisit what is a classic game for the first time really on consoles with a steady 60 FPS if they delivered that for us. So I really hope that is the case. Anyway, that rant out of the way, let's talk about the game. Need for Speed Most Wanted is a very fun time. In fact, I actually played through the entire career and beat the entire game. I got the full, 1,000 perfect gamer score that I could get out of this game, and I beat all 15 rivals in the world. So I played this game to completion. Didn't take me too long. I have to say that I love the way this game delivers its missions. Typical Need for Speed games today, it's like do this bullshit, do that bullshit, compete in this race, compete in that race, but you're doing a bunch of everything, but some of the stuff you don't particularly enjoy. What this game does is it gives you basically a list of missions and says you can do these in any order that you want, and you can also compete in what events that you want. So there were about 3 or 4 missions in the game that I actually really enjoyed. Some of these were time trials, some of these were actually races and stuff, and then there were sort of longer events and stuff that I didn't really want to invest myself in. I much preferred the shorter, events and sort of the challenges and stuff that this game would give me in order to increase my reputation on the Most Wanted list, and therefore have enough credibility to finally race these people and these rivals and earn my spot on the Most Wanted list. And I love that about this game. This is a game that respects your time. I've been saying this for many years now, and as I'm getting older, it's just become so much more apparent that the main issue I have with games today is that there are simply far too many games that refuse to respect your time. They ask you to invest yourself in hours of boring, grindy gameplay loops that aren't that much fun and don't really reward you that much with really great gameplay. This is one of those games that says, listen, play how you want, compete in the events that you want, race in a way that you prefer, and it's just it's nice to see a game finally acknowledge that you can play it at your own pace, and you're again rewarded because you still get to level up, you still get to proceed in the game, and you get to do it in sort of the effort and the order that you want to. I really, really like this about this game, and that's what made this game so much more engaging and fun for me to play than your typical Need for Speed games today. It's like even after all these years and all this time, where we gotten all these extra Need for Speeds after it. And yeah, Most Wanted, I would have to play through the other Need for Speed games again to actually rank this, but it is one of the better ones from what I played. I've been playing Need for Speed games since the original games on the first PlayStation. I think Need for Speed 2 was my very first Need for Speed game, if I'm remembering correctly. But even then, it's very, very difficult for me to remember back that far. My favorite game in the series has to be Hot Pursuit 2, though, on the PlayStation 2. I loved that game. But again, those games, a lot of those entries in the series, had different styles and approaches to them, so you got a different feeling every single time. And it was ever since the popularity of the Fast and Furious franchise, it really influenced the entirety of just racing games and the genre in general, where everything's about set pieces and trying to create this very serious storyline with high stakes and stuff. And Most Wanted just says, let's create a game that's fun to play, that has very sort of outlandish and ridiculous characters, but there's a sense of humor to it all. And that's what I really enjoyed about watching these cutscenes. You're watching these cutscenes, and the characters are talking shit to you, and it's all live action, by the way. It's all live action like the classic Need for Speed games, but it has this weird filter over it that makes it kind of look... It's bizarre. It looks like someone recorded it with their cell phone, and then just put like a filter like on Instagram or something on it. That's how the cutscenes in this game look. But the writing is so ridiculous, and the characters themselves, all the actors basically put their full personality into these characters, and it's just, you can't help but just smile. It's just great fun. And I miss games that are just, not afraid to have fun. Where did this go? Where, Need for Speed has to be about this super serious, high stakes, game where, you have people's lives on the line and characters and things like that. And, it misses the point. No one ever played a Need for Speed game for its story, but we always enjoyed the quirkiness of the characters that we got to interact with. And I hope that one day we can get another Need for Speed game like that sort of isn't afraid to embody and, show us, just that we can have a fun, ridiculous racing game with these characters. And then that's the reason why people really love Need for Speed. And this game, again, is just another excellent entry in a franchise that just really kind of takes it and focuses itself on its core roots and stuff. So I really enjoyed playing through this game again. And, let's talk about controls and stuff. The driving by today's standard is very stiff. The cars themselves kind of handle like boats almost. Everything has a sense of weight and momentum to it. But honestly, you're given a focus meter, which allows you to kind of slow down time, and you can upgrade your car with nitrous and stuff. And so generally what I found is that on sharper turns, you can use your focus meter to slow down time, which in turn as well gives you incredible control of your car. And ultimately, I found that the game controlled fine once you got used to the overall controls. It's not as responsive as some of the more modern Need for Speed games today, or even some of the later entries in the series, especially because that frame rate is also, all over the place at all times. So that also is not helping. I imagine that if we got a consistent frame rate, hopefully 60 frames per second in a backwards compatibility patch, that it would also fix a lot of the issues with the controls, because the game doesn't really feel responsive to play and doesn't look responsive when you're playing it. So it's kind of like hurting that in itself kind of hurts the overall experience, but it's more than playable, if you kind of stick with it. You have a decent wide variety of vehicles. I think there's 70 vehicles in the game. You're not going to unlock all of them. I was able to earn a lot of money though, and as you're competing with these rivals, you'll have a chance to basically earn their car. The game gives you a lottery system where you could basically choose a set number of goodies, I guess, but they're hidden from you. And so if you're lucky and you choose the correct card, you can get basically the rival's pink slip. And so you can unlock cars that way, but you can also purchase vehicles with money and stuff like that. I was able to unlock the fastest vehicle in the game, which was the Porsche Carrera GT, and completely obliterated people during the final act of the game. Like, I was just woozing past people, especially once that car was fully upgraded and stuff. I mean, no one really stood a chance. So it was a lot of fun. And the game, again, allows you to play at your own pace, so you can go at this sort of as fast or as slow as you'd like. And the game's just really kind of fun and engaging the entire way through. If you keep in the mindset that this is a game that came out during 2005, I mean, it's a very, very fun time. And also as a game that showcases the 360's power, I mean, but it does look dated. The cars themselves have some decent detail. I like the reflections and stuff off of the paint. They did a good job, at least with some of the detail, where, again, one of the issues that we had very early on with this generation was that the tail lights tend to look like stickers and stuff. That doesn't happen so much in this game. There are some vehicles where there is a little bit apparent. There could have been more triangles and geometry to create these models, but most of the time the game looks very good. And again, this game on the 360 is graphically superior to that on the PC, so as a way to showcase what a next generation console is capable of, I think it's a very interesting experiment to make the game look better than the PC version, although again, subsequently making the game actually run all over the place with an unlocked frame rate. So yeah, one can hope that this game just gets cleaned up, because honestly, just porting it over, even if it just kept the 720p resolution, which to be honest is perfectly fine enough. The game has some form of anti-aliasing in here. I assume it's probably 4x MSAA, which is what a lot of games were using very early on. So it doesn't look jagged by any means, and the detail level's decent enough. And just overall a decent looking game and a decent playing game, and I do think it still holds up well. But yeah, it was just a great fun to go back here and just revisit a classic, and especially a game that I used to play but really didn't remember, and finally enjoy it for the first time with a rather playable version of it. So Oh, and also, if there was ever a point where a game would show its age, who remembers Singular Wireless, which is advertised heavily throughout this game, and you get little messages on your PDA that say the Singular Wireless, logo in the top corner. I saw that, and it just brought me back to that old cell phone service, which was bought out by AT&T back in the day. Singular Wireless with the Motorola Razr. That was a big thing. So anyway, that was a look at Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005. A very solid Xbox 360 launch title, and even today a very solid playing game. Let's hope Microsoft can upgrade this game to backwards compatibility and fix those issues. I really think that would just bring this game to life. And again, very, very fun time. So let me know if you guys played this game, what platform you played this game on, what were your favorite memories, around this time during 2005. Let me know what the first Need for Speed game you guys played. I expect some of you guys may have played the series a little bit later on, but yeah, I think Need for Speed 2 was my first game. I remember I had one on the original PlayStation, but I can't remember which. So a video for a different time perhaps, but for now, hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll talk with you guys later. Thank you.